I extend a very warm welcome to you all to this 17th International Symposium on Diplomacy at the University of East Anglia in London. As Vice Chancellor of a university that covers all areas of human understanding, I often have to open things about which I know alarmingly little. So, as a historian of Russia, I find your agenda particularly inviting and intriguing. And I look forward to any new insights on the present and any implications about the past that your work may engender. Stalin, who perpetrated one of history's most catastrophic diplomatic errors, remarked that sincere diplomacy is no more possible than dry water or wooden arm. And I trust that today's proceedings would let the old brute here make him think again. We at the University of East Anglia very much welcome the study of diplomacy in all its forms. Indeed, one of our recent Queen's Awards was for the work of our School of International Development, which has a world-leading reputation for energetic engagement in the problems of developing nations. In addition to the London Academy of Diplomacy, we also have a number of research groups in Norwich for whom diplomacy is meat and drink. Those of you not familiar with the delightful city of Norwich, where UEA is based, may be surprised to learn that in the 1560s, the city, then known as England's second city, was at the heart of an immigration debate. Was it proper to allow uncontrolled immigration from Protestants living in the Spanish Netherlands? The debate ranged long and hard. Indeed, the Thames was closed for a time to prevent the influx of so-called strangers. However, wise cultural and economic arguments prevailed, and Norwich provided a prosperous home for the strangers, and at one time around 1/3 of the city's population were international immigrants working mainly in the weaving trade. 100 years later, and the same industry, weaving, was this time importing Huguenots from France. But on this occasion, where they predominantly settled was here, in Spitalfields, where we are at the moment, barely 50 metres from this site, in the historic Tenterground, where the weavers prepared their cloth. Incidentally, the cloths were hung on what were called tenterhooks, and hence the expression in English, to be on tenterhooks. Fast forward to the present day, and I have the duty to represent Britain's universities on the issue of immigration. And there are times when I fear that Britain's handling of this politically fraught issue loses sight of the lessons that can be drawn from the little anecdotes of 2 past centuries I have just outlined. One of the purposes of today's conference is to underline that alongside different currents, there are very strong liberal currents in Britain that warmly welcome the free flow of ideas and scholars and thoroughly legitimate students, and Britain to them is enormously welcome. So, this meeting could not come at a more timely fashion, and what a splendid title has been devised. The word is no longer about bipolar or even multilateral relations, 2 or a handful of powers going head to head, and the diplomats essentially balancing power between the partners. By heteropolarity, I think is meant the situation in which there is an extraordinary increase in the number of state and non-state players on the grand stage, and the rapid change of power bases, assumptions, and indeed knowledge, the fluid, plastic world of the media, and in particular, the social media. The rapid changes in power that can lead to an Arab upheaval or a flash mob in Britain. To those of us brought up in the Cold War, the new world is a confusing place where allegiances can switch and movements grow in extraordinary speed. And I wish you well in deciphering it. I hope you thoroughly enjoy your time in Britain, in London, and in the university. We are, to use a local phrase, on tenterhooks to hear your deliberations.